Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today I want to take a look at what the best of the best players think are the best heroes, or at least what stats say are the best heroes. So this is something I haven't really done yet, or in the past, where I'm just going to look. So if you don't know what this is Liquipedia. It's a great website, and it tells you so much about what pros are picking, what they value, what is doing well, and what is doing not. And you can see on this page, we're currently looking at Western Europe, which is, I would say, the most competitive region by quite a margin. They have OG, Entity, Liquid, Tundra, Secret, Alliance, just a lot of the top teams, right? It's easily, I would say easily the top region. And so we're going to look at the win rates of the heroes. We're going to start from top percentage of win rates, but we're also going to look at the amount the heroes were picked. What's so great about this website is it keeps track of a wide variety of stats, which I'll go over, and hopefully you can translate this information into your pubs. I'm going to help you do that as well. So without further ado, smash the like button if you guys could, comment something down below, and of course, watch to the end of the video if you want to support the channel. And now I want to tell you guys a little bit about DotaPlus from Overwolf. This is a free stats app you guys can download right now that's going to show you your stats for the last 3 months. So if you want to know your games played, your MMR, your win rate, your XPM, your GPM, all of these things you need to track to know how well you're doing and what you need to change to gain MMR, you can get for absolutely free. On top of that, the biggest reason why you need to download DotaPlus, at least for me, is the ban suggestions. Basically, it tells you what the enemy team is good at. It tells you their best heroes, what they've been winning with. You just ban it. You might be wondering why your good heroes, why your best heroes keep getting banned. It's because of DotaPlus. The enemy team is using it and banning out your best heroes. So go download DotaPlus right now, and I'll see you guys there. All right, so getting into it, I generally will skip over the majority of heroes that have high win rates but low pick rates. Obviously, especially if they've only been picked in one game and having a 100% win rate, it's not really much of a sample size. So we'll move on from there. One notable mention though is Oracle at an 100% win rate. And I will say, I've had this theory for a bit of time now that heroes like Oracle and Abaddon are going to pick up in the meta. And here's why. I think a lot of these heal/deathball metas or heroes are going to pop up. Examples of that are Lone Druid, who's actually up here. He only has 2 games picked, but Lone Druid, Bristleback, Necrophos, even heroes like Beastmaster and Lycan in their Deathball, they have some sort of a heal component to them with their Vlads, and even heroes like Warlock, Dazzle, heroes of this sort are going to pop up into the meta. You can see even Bristleback quite up here. Alchemist is another one that's doing quite well. MARCI, a lot of these heroes are very heal-based, even Phoenix, only 1 game played. I thought Phoenix has way more picks than this. But either way, as we move on to the list, we're going to see a couple of very notable heroes, ZEUS being the main one. ZEUS currently being at an 81% win rate over 11 games is incredible, 9-2, and I honestly believe this hero is, I don't want to say overpowered, but I do believe ZEUS is one of the strongest heroes in Dota right now. I'm even going to give you guys a little bit of insight into like some theory crafting I've been doing, and something I've actually noticed with a lot of these pro teams, and that is, when you pick ZEUS, all you need to really enable this hero is to give him a lane, right? The hero needs a good game. ZEUS is a support or a core that needs a lane. He needs space. He does not want to fight too much early on into the game. He wants to wait till his shard, and generally till he's like level 10 through 12, right? Then the hero really starts to come online. So what do you do with that, right? You can pick heroes like mid lane heroes, such as, let's say something like Bristleback, or Punch, or there's a lot of examples, Exort Invoker, any hero that can jungle, Leshrac. There's plenty of mid lane heroes that don't necessarily want to purely jungle, even something like Kunkka, but they can if they need to. If they want to enable another hero, they can do that. And so if you can pick a hero that can move around the map, and doesn't need to sit mid, right? It's a hero that with a lot of survivability that can jungle, even something like Ember or Void Spirit if they really need to, you can enable the ZEUS to have a good game, and then ZEUS in the mid to late game is just an unbelievable hero. He kind of always has been, but he's better than he ever has because of Heavenly Jump. Really, I believe Heavenly Jump, this ability is it's just stupid. On a 10-second cooldown, you can disengage, and the disengage completely neuters the hero, whoever gets hit by it, 100% movement speed slow, 100% attack speed slow. They even cast their ability slower for 2.6 seconds, a really long time for such a significant disable. So I really do believe ZEUS is going to become more and more popular over time. We've already seen the hero become first phase pick ban to an extent, and I expect that to really continue as time moves along. We see MARCI, not really surprising. I think this hero is pretty broken. A stupid laner, I think its E is kind of insane. It's like, what, 70% lifesteal? You guys could correct me on that. 65 damage, 70-ish% lifesteal. It's just nuts. One of the best initiators. It ganks mid. Honestly, the biggest advantage of MARCI, in my opinion, besides its laning, is its rotation capability. There's no hero better than MARCI. You can't tell me there's a hero better than MARCI at ganking mid. You might be like, oh, but Tusk Snowball. I can roll on the mid laner and shard him. That's better than MARCI. It's the same thing speed. It's not. Rebound is so much faster, and you misplace or displace the enemy, right? You also literally put them out of position. There's just nothing that compares. Moving on from there, I think Alchemist will become more and more popular. I think this hero as a safe laner is really good. I think he's pretty good against the unit drafts that are coming into popularity, largely because he lanes pretty well against them. These heroes don't necessarily pressure that hard in the lane for the most part, like Visage, Beast, and Lycan. They can, sometimes they will, but I think Alk is a pretty good laner and he can do well against them. And then he gets off to a good start, buys a Radiance, provides mischance for his team, and I think that's quite good. From there, the next notable one I do want to mention is Puck at a 71% win rate. Very impressive. All right, very, very impressive. And really what's most impressive about Puck having this high of a win rate is the fact that largely when Puck is being drafted is early on into the picks. So usually Puck is actually being counterpicked. Literally the hero will be picked first and constantly counterpicked with Ember, with Tiny, just so many different heroes. And yet it doesn't matter. It just seemingly doesn't matter. The hero's getting to its Witchblade timing. And then when it gets to the Witchblade timing, there's not a lot of heroes that have as much impact in early game skirmishes as a Witchblade Puck. I mean it. There's just not a lot of heroes that can keep up with Witchblade Puck. Really feels that way. And then on the Blink timing, it's the same thing. It just terrorizes your map. It cuts waves. And, you know, it's done this for a while. And I think the hero's been better than it's been given credit for a while now. And it's just kind of starting to pop up. But largely, I believe it's also a response to this Death Ball meta, these group up comps. The ability to split push with Puck and cut waves against Lycan, Beastmaster, Visage is really good. And then if they group up, you're also very good against them as well because of the team fight. So I honestly think Puck is going to stay very popular. He's actually the second most picked hero out of all of them, which is very notable considering his win rate is so dang high. Wyvern, I think Wyvern, if you haven't experimented with this hero and you're a support, you really should, because it's just such a good answer to the meta right now. It's such a clear answer to the meta. And if you don't know what the meta is, I'll quickly show you. I'll sort it by picks. So even as we'll see here, not too many picks, but Wyvern is a hard counter to Razor, who actually has a horrible win rate, funny enough. It's quite surprising. It's a hard counter to Enigma. Enigma also a surprisingly low win rate. Actually a shockingly low win rate. Like, honestly, it's crazy to me that this hero has a sub 30% win rate over 14 games. You know, obviously it's a relatively low sample size, but at the end of the day, it's still surprising. Teams are valuing this hero very highly and it's losing. And I don't think it's bad teams picking Enigma necessarily. So it's yeah, it's definitely a bit shocking. But yeah, Wyvern, such a hard counter to Beastmaster for clear reasons. You curse his units next to anyone, they die. And then on top of that, the heal is such a clear counter to Beastmaster. Whoever he roars, you heal them. It's a very one-on-one interaction. And for a lot of matchups for Wyvern, it's not necessarily that clear if you want to Cold Embrace them. Because Cold Embrace is a very long duration. It's much longer than the majority of stuns. And so if you Cold Embrace someone, they might die even after the stun ends. They'll get set up on. But Roar, being a 4-second disable, is so long that it's so clear if someone gets roared, you heal them. As long as you understand that, it's such a clear counter pick and an effective counter pick. Even something like Doom, you might be like, why does it counter Razor? Well, the reality of the Razor matchup is, number one, Wyvern can kite out the Razor. Razor likes picking on supports and just exploding them in the mid game. Very hard for Razor to kill a Wyvern, right? Wyvern can force out the BKB. On top of that, whoever Razor links, another clear heal target. Now you might be like, oh, but he still drains the damage. Yes, Yes, but no. It depends who he's linking. You don't necessarily want to cold embrace a Sven if he gets linked by Razor. In that case, you would just Winter's Curse. And that's the other layer to it. Even if Razor, let's say, links your Sven or your Tiny Carry or whatever, right? Then you curse the Razor. And you might be like, oh, but BKB, it goes through BKB. So this Wyvern hero, I think, just addresses the meta. I think it's honestly just powerful. It's very hard. I made a guide on it recently, so if you want to check that out, I recommend you do so. Other than that, we have Monkey King. And I'm going to quickly actually sort between both divisions, see what even Division 2 is picking. We're going to see a lot of Monkey King actually picked up here. And the hero's doing well in both divisions clearly. And I think that's for a couple of reasons. Monkey King is good against the unit meta to an extent. Like, Monkey King has really good armor, and so in the early laning stage, things like Wolves and Boar and Eidolons don't do anything, so Monkey King is a very clear response to Enigma to some extent. I think he's very good against Beastmaster, I think he's good against Lycan. He's also, these Beast and Lycan heroes are very tanky early on into the game, but Wukong's command plus a stun is good enough to kill them for the most part, so it's a nice response in that regard. But yeah, you can see Puck staying up there, Clockwork being really a major one as well. This hero, as a 5 and a 4, is wildly popular right now. And honestly, I think Clock is just extremely good. It really is just, in my opinion, extremely good. And not necessarily for complex reasons. I think the hero's been good for a while. But ever since they buffed it where it does double damage to creeps, the hero has become a lot more versatile. Because it used to have to be a very linear playstyle where you would just chase kills the whole game. You couldn't really push creep waves. You definitely could not jungle. It would not do enough. It was too slow. That's no longer the case. You can click Soul Ring, click Q on a creep camp, and it's going to kill the creep camp. And so this hero that's very effective with items, like Clockwork with items is very effective. Why? Because his toolkit is always useful. He provides vision, he provides long range initiation, a ton of disable, the ability to solo kill supports. The problem was, if you weren't killing heroes, you really couldn't get gold. It's just how the hero worked. That's for the first time in Clock's existence, as far as I'm concerned. He can enable his game by shoving creep waves, and he's also really good at shoving the dead lane. Like, he doesn't really care. Honestly, Clock can split push like crazy now, if he needs to. And what I mean by split push is not take towers, but clear the waves, open up the map in that regard, get his Force Staff, get his Glimmer Cape, get a Wraith Pact, whatever you want to buy for your team. Drums is very popular as well. And you can buy these cheap items that really enable these Death Ball comps that are quite popular right now. And I think he also works really well with a lot of these unit heroes too. He enables I honestly think that a lot of if you look at the popular cores or these tri-cores that are being drafted, you aren't going to see a lot of team comps with like stun as their tri-core, or even if their mid and offlaner are not often going to have like stun. And so it's really nice just to have Clock as your stun, right? It makes drafting much easier because you don't have to feel bad if your cores don't have a hard stun. You're going to have Clock to do so. All right, from there, kind of notably, CM isn't doing too well. Tiny isn't doing too well. I think Tiny's a good hero, and I think CM's a good hero, but sometimes they can struggle when teams get their aura items. I do believe that CM and Tiny can fall off in effectiveness against these timings because they do a very set amount of damage, and then if this damage is healed with Vlads or just heal comps, or like, I think the big issue with Tiny is what I've seen play out is he doesn't necessarily burst a lot of the tanky heroes right now. And it's relatively easy for supports to itemize in a way where they don't get one-shot. And so, even with Echo Saber, I can struggle to one-shot. And so, yeah, I don't know. I'm so on the fence about Tiny. He's such a great flex pick because he can be flexed into different roles. But especially in pubs, I would not recommend Tiny. I think the hero just doesn't do enough. Dawnbreaker's an interesting one to me because the hero's getting picked like crazy, and yet it doesn't seem to be owning necessarily. The reason why I think teams like it is they've kind of gotten comfortable with the idea of having like really good lanes and then a hero that can just kind of play a crazy tempo. Like Dawnbreaker is one of the fastest heroes in Dota in terms of the pace that you can set. It's incredible. Like literally, I remember playing against one of the top teams and they picked Dawnbreaker, and it was just brutal because no matter what play I felt like I made, they would respond, right? And that's kind of the power of the Dawnbreaker. If it has a good lane matchup and then has other heroes to keep tempo with it, it feels pretty broken. But it does fall off. As the lane progresses, as the game progresses, Dawnbreaker honestly does fall off quite hard. At least from my experience, that's the case. I've seen a lot of this Deso Shard, and it does help the hero scale, but I don't think the hero still is that incredible in the mid to late game, even with these items for the most part. So I get why it has a 52% win rate. It's still a winning hero, but I don't think it's broken by any means. However, a hero that is doing still incredibly well is the Coddle. It's like, damn, you know, even though the hero got nerfed recently, it wasn't hard enough. It's still going to be top meta. If you can learn this hero as a position 4, or even as an offlaner, I've seen it been picked by Zai in particular. He really likes playing this hero as an offlaner. I do think it's very powerful in that regard as well. Another example of a hero that's doing quite well is Bristleback. He's a great response to the meta. A response to Lycan, a response to Bristle, a response to Enigma, a response to Visage, a response to all of these heroes. He's just so dang good. And that is where I mentioned it earlier, but I think Abaddon and Oracle as heroes to enable Bristle in the early game, because Bristle has sustain issues, and he also has a Spirit Vessel issue. But if you get rid of those issues, I think this hero just dominates. And I think the best way to enable him is Oracle and Abaddon. I think Dazzle's really good as well with Bristleback. Doesn't have the Dispel necessarily, which I do believe is so freaking good with Bristle. So I think Abaddon is the main one. I believe that teams are undervaluing with this hero. But either way, you can even pick that in your drafts. You can incentivize people to pick it, because I think it's just so damn good. I will say one thing about Bristle that can be good as well as picking like Wyvern. And the reason why is Wyvern's good in the meta. And on top of that, you can heal the Bristle in the lane if you want to go that route. And finally, if like Bristle doesn't want to necessarily defend towers if his matchups are bad. And so if it's a bad Bristle game, you can pick Wyvern. Even in pubs, like let's say your teammate first picks Bristle. If he has bad matchups and you have a Wyvern, basically the Bristle can just jungle until he has BKB, which is like quite late into the game. It's like 22, 23, 24 minutes, not too late. And the Wyvern can just dead lane for as long as he can. He can delay the game by defending towers. And so that matchup is, or that pairing is good as well. But all right, that's going to be about all for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you learned a lot about what's currently popular. Hopefully this has kind of enlightened you. If you want to see more videos like this, or you want me to look just at, you know, more regions in general, like even as I quickly go to Eastern Europe, let's take a look at their highest win rate heroes. Kunkka's 5-0. In terms of high win rate heroes, Bane, that's crazy. Bane doing incredibly well. Visage, a hero I think is very, very powerful for his ability to abuse the aura items, also doing well. ZEUS, actually, let's take a look at ZEUS over the other regions. I mean, 70% win rate. Also, let's take a look at ZEUS in China. Is he also popping off? Maybe not, right? Maybe he's losing China. You know, it's always hard to say. Okay, not picked very much, actually. Surprisingly, still 2 out of 1 games, but not picked nearly as much. So ZEUS only has a 50% win rate, only 2 games as well. So really not very popular in certain regions. I'm pretty sure he's quite popular in North America. I'm curious to see the win rate of ZEUS in North America at least, because I know he's like meta to some extent. He's actually 2-7. So it goes to show that like really, I mean, it goes to show that it's obviously region dependent. I think teams learn how to enable certain heroes. Even me, like I've only over the last week have I really contemplated on how to enable ZEUS and how to make this hero good. And I think like really that's what's so beautiful about Dota. You can't just look at a hero and be like, oh, it's straight up broken. There's a lot of things that enable these heroes, and hopefully I'll continue to teach you guys about like the layers that Dota has, because I don't think most players understand. I think most players they're only good enough, and I'm just being honest, they're only good enough to like look at a hero at base value, right? Look at a hero and say like, okay, it does X in a draft, it does Y, it does Y amount of damage. And that's kind of all they look for. They'll look at like one-on-one matchups. And that is even largely what I teach, because you need a baseline, like to get to the next level of understanding. You generally need a baseline of being like, okay, ZEUS is good against Void Spirit in the lane, right? And it's like something to think about. Or ZEUS is good against Terrorblade in the game, because Terrorblade can't reach the ZEUS for the most part. Even if he does, ZEUS can disengage. And the magic damage forces an early BKB from TB. And if he doesn't go BKB, you have a way to kill him. So basically, there's a lot of layers to things, because, you know, even though TB might be bad against ZEUS, or for instance, like TB might be theoretically bad against Leshrac, if you enable the TB in a certain way, TB is all of a sudden good against Leshrac. And so there's always cool things like this to Dota, and I still have so much to learn. Like, obviously, you know, I'm teaching people here, but I hope I never claim or try to come off as someone who knows everything. I absolutely do not. I know a lot, and I know so much because this is basically what I've devoted my life to. Hopefully you guys see that, but can't teach you everything, but I can teach you a lot, and hopefully over time I'll make you guys better players. But all right, Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and I'm out. Peace.
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the Game Leap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.